American Sign Language, also often referred to as ASL, is a fully developed and complex language made up of a variety of hand movements that rely completely on the facial expression and posture of the person signing. For example, when asking different types of questions, the facial expression will change. So when asking a yes or no question, a person will raise their eyebrows. So if I were to say, "Do you want to eat lunch?" Or another example is when asking a question that pertains to who, what, when, where, or why, the person will bury their eyebrows. So if I were to say, "Who is the teacher?" That's just one example of how facial expression can completely affect a question. The language is entirely visual, which sets it aside from all of the other national languages taught in school. Other languages taught in the North Kingstown School Department rely completely on sound, which proves to be ineffective when trying to learn to communicate with someone who is deaf or hard of hearing. A common misconception is that speaking English to someone who is deaf is satisfactory because they should be able to read the person's lips as they say the English word, when in reality it's extremely hard and should never be expected of someone who is in the deaf community. For example, if trying to read the lips of a sentence where I either say the word or I say the word, there is no way to indicate which word I said in that sentence. To be specific, only 30% of lip reading is found completely accurate. Never mind the struggle of reading lips, it is disrespectful to the deaf community to speak in a personal native language of choice to someone who is deaf and assume them to assimilate. That being said, I'd like to point out that American Sign Language is a completely different language than English, and it has its own set of rules, pronunciation, word order, and complex syntax. Also, as mentioned before, there is a whole culture to the language of American Sign Language that is often looked over or completely ignored. ASL is just as substantial as any of the other languages taught at North Kingstown High School and poses great opportunity for learners. Here are 4 specific reasons why someone should look into learning ASL. First, there is the idea that people in the deaf community spend their whole lives adjusting to the hearing world that they live in, so learning ASL can help you adapt to being better suited to interacting with the deaf and hard of hearing community. Next, learning more about the deaf culture is important. Their culture is just as legitimate as any other, and those who identify with deafness are often looked down upon or simply misunderstood. A person should also be prepared for their future. You or someone you love could one day lose the ability to hear, or because 90% of deaf children are born to hearing parents, you could very well have a child that is deaf. This is how it differs from any other foreign language. Finally, a reason that there should be an ASL class at the high school is because students that already struggle with reading and writing in English as a class should not feel pressure to learn another written language such as Spanish. Instead, a different approach, a visual approach, could be ASL, posing a completely different learning stretch for the students.